Yeah. It lends, really, we're talking about the same thing is data availability, data transparency, and
Yeah.
what's causing what. We had talked about, I think on the last call a few weeks back, about forced simplicity. And I think
Yeah, man.
this is really it. What's contributing the most to the results that you want?
Yes.
I find, what is it? Michael, you'd probably know this stat better than me. Something like there was research to say 80% of conscious thoughts are negative in most humans. So it's very easy for us to like
Higher.
be negative and
Yeah.
focus on what's bad and what's not working. But I find not that it's a waste of time. There's always a place for efficiency improvements and ad spend efficiency improvements, etc., cost saving initiatives. But when you're spending all your time going, oh, this didn't work, this didn't work, this didn't work, and you're letting that thing that's showing really promising signs that it can do well, and you're ignoring that and you're just letting it kind of sit there, it is
Mm.
not a good place to be. You should really be focusing on what is working. Obviously, you need to figure out the balance. What's not working, let's cut that out. But I do find maybe it's that negative, pessimistic human nature that people
Yeah.
focus so much energy and resources on cutting out the waste and focusing on,
Yeah.
this new thing didn't work, as opposed to what pieces of it did work. How can we scale that? How can we do more of that in
Yeah.
other pieces of our marketing?
Yeah. Well, it's called negativity bias or like a survivalship bias. And a lot of
Yeah.
people are anchored towards negativity because they believe that if they're aware of it, then there's less likelihood of downside happening, which is important to do. You need both sides.
Yeah.
It's not black and white, either positivity bias or negativity bias. It's like you need both, but it's to the extent which it's skewed as well. And it's interesting you say that because I was having a chat with one of my other mates who runs an agency in Australia as well. And we're just talking about just the change in Google ads. And then he was telling about these strategies he does and beyond just the Google ads account. It was just so interesting what he was saying. But I was like, that's not going to work for my clients because a lot of my clients are this type of client. And the other thing we're talking about is like, how do you know there's these people who are like, I don't know, they're in like Serbia or something, and they're these Google ads like nerds who are like, oh, I need to push up the cost per click by 1 cent, and then the impression share will go up like by 0.5. And like these people who go so deep in the account, I think they're the ones who are really going to be left behind now because they're too focused on that negativity. Like they already are being left behind, by the way. But it's like these people who are so focused on like getting rid of all the waste, never having a bad keyword, never having anything. It really doesn't allow any room for the account to breathe. Or once again, if you're just to focus on what is working and just do more of that. And the reality of what actually works, it's not the account, it's the client relationship and their focus on what their goals are and how you're moving towards those goals and not focusing on these little things in ad accounts that hold you back.
That assumes, though, from your own echo chamber, right, that you know what you're doing and you can do a good job
Well,
from
that's
the
the
tool
thing.
standpoint,
Expertise,
right?
it's you got to have the baseline of expertise,
Yeah.
but that should be with any field. Like
Mhm.
I'm not writing this content for I'm just sharing my opinion on where I'm at right now, not giving
Right.
my younger self advice. If I was 5 years ago, what would advice would I give myself? No, none of that crap.
Yeah.
Nice. So what are we going to talk about now?
Oh, you hard cut off. That's it. That's all you have to say
No, it
about
just went
that.
silent. I was like, I've got nothing else to say right now.
Okay, I thought you had more coming. No, I think it's all relevant. It's all relevant what we're talking about, and I think at the end of the day, yeah, relationships are always going to be really important once you have the skill set. But I agree that there is something that's not talked about enough is optimization, over optimizing your accounts, Facebook, Google, email
Yeah.
marketing, whatever, where you are shooting yourself in the foot by over optimizing. I do tend to find, though, this is people who are not very good at analytics and
Yeah.
data analysis. They are just, it's all reactionary. It's all knee jerk reactions. It's like, oh no, everything went down because I made that change. Let's just bring it back to where it was. And this type of emotional behavior it's not based in logic. It's not based on enough data, I should say. It might be based on a little bit of data, but not enough
Yeah.
data. And they don't know what the difference is. They don't even know how to measure that. So I do find that it's very natural for people to behave that way with online marketing or just marketing in general, really. But yeah, I think that's something that should be talked about more is,
Yeah.
you need to avoid over optimizing. There is a benefit sometimes to just waiting and letting it be bad for a little bit, because again, these are machine learning algorithms. They are learning, they are figuring out what works, what doesn't work, and it's not always going to work out, and sometimes it's really bad and then it's really good.
Yeah.
And these are all examples of something that is learning. It's going through a journey.
We've got an approach, and when I say we, I came up with this years ago just because I needed just some sort of like hardball way to imprint it in my mind, because I would have the thing of, you launch an ad account or you launch a new campaign and you do keep checking it because you do need to check it. But the optimization part, and I go to clients, we launch it fast and then we give it about 14 to 21 days to acquire data. So even just consciously saying that to the client, it puts an accountability onto myself. Like, there's no reporting for the next 14 to 21 days, because a lot of times when people feel these pressures to over optimize is because they feel like they need to over report as well, especially for new campaigns or things where clients might be on their back. So I actually think it should be 21 days plus, but I usually say 14 to 21 days. So if it's that good middle ground. And also the time of learning depends on the quality of the data going in, being it the keywords or the audiences. And then also the amount of budget spent and the keyword, like how much data you can acquire in that window as well. But in that time, like I actually think the word over optimize is definitely, that happens. I actually think you can micro optimize, like when you launch a new campaign, just to like go in and just go have a look at the search terms maybe for the first 3 days, just to make sure no cooked search terms are coming in. Because sometimes when people hear, oh, don't over optimize, they're just like, okay, I'll set and forget it. It's like, no, you still got to like
That's not
check
what we
in
mean.
on that stuff. And the main things that would be like, look at the search terms for the first few days, because it's like a bamboo tree. You're just wanting to trim it down. So it's like this beautiful, like, so the search terms you're getting are only going to grow beautifully up like that, rather than just like chaotically everywhere. And then just checking other basic metrics. But you're right, the over optimization, it's wild. It's wild.
It's funny. I find myself getting this emotional reaction to timelines because, in terms of expectations that we give clients as agencies. And it's because after doing this for so long and being so data driven, I realize that most of the time it's very ridiculous what we're actually trying to do. We're trying to create certainty in an uncertain environment.
I know.
And so it kind
for a
of
pretty
cracks
good
me
price
up.
as well.
Yeah.
But that's you're like, I want to be making millions of dollars and here's like 10 grand to you. And you're like, wow, that's a lot of money for like a very clear data driven upside way. And sorry, go on.
It's just that it's funny to me. I find that it's funny because as agencies, we have been pushed backed into this corner via client management and client relationships to create these sort of false promises and expectations of certainty of 14 to 21 days, we like to give it 6 to 8 weeks. And it's like, it's also ridiculous, guys, to be honest with you. I hear this so much, and I get this from very anxious clients or very anxious consulting clients, whatever, that they're looking for this certainty again in a very uncertain environment. Sometimes it's going to do well in 7 days. Sometimes it's going to do well in 6 days or 8 days or 22 days, not 21. Magic, right? It's not magic. It's just there's a lot that is involved in the data that you're looking at. It is not as simple as we turned on target return on ad spend, we set it to 300%, and we did this thing, and then that's all that happened. Nope, other things happened. Inventory changed, the buying behavior changed, something in the marketplace changed, your competitor changed their pricing or their prominence in the ad auctions. It is never as simple as that. Therefore, to be able to say these things like 14 to 21 days, and Michael, this is not disrespect to any agencies to do it. I have to do it. You have to do it. We have to do it. That's what I'm saying.
Because you can't just go, I don't know. That's the thing. You've got to have something, but then I don't want to go, oh, give me a few days. I'm like, what's short to medium term enough within this month, so it gives them the perception, but not too long where they're like, that's too long, or too short where I'm like held on the line. Because if I just go, I don't know, they're going to be like, why the fuck am I paying you?
But that's what's so frustrating, right? Because we can't teach our job is not to teach clients statistical significance and
Yep.
here's all the methods that I use in order to judge this, and whether that's not our place to do that. They honestly shouldn't have the time to be learning that from us anyway. It's all about, we want to build this confidence, this trust. We also want to give them a feeling of comfort and confidence in the service that we're providing. But I find myself just a little bit frustrated with that is kind of where we are as service providers, where we have to kind of create this false confidence and this idea that there's this certainty around, oh, Google will usually figure this out in 14 days. It's just such bullshit, guys. I've been doing this for almost a decade, and I can tell you, meeting and seeing so many different accounts and clients, that is, there's never just this, like, it's always 7 days, it's always 14 days. Yeah. We're doing that for our sake. We're also doing it for your sake. But don't really expect it to work don't expect it to fit into these perfect little boxes. It's just not how it works in reality.